Hello, my name is Stephanie Graff, and my term project is a safety training course for a fictitious company named Western Manufacturing. The scope of this topic includes a short overview on why the safety program is needed, what the company hopes to accomplish by teaching it, and then we'll touch on personal protection and 3 common workplace hazards. The purpose of the safety program and the context in which it could be used is for a basic introduction for new hires to the company, for existing employees who change positions, and as a yearly reminder for all employees. In creating an interactive e-learning application for a company safety program, it will not only help employees better understand the safety topics, but may also help in preventing future accidents or death. My learning objectives for this course are for the learner to be able to explain the safety rules and guidelines in relation to the company as a whole and understand why safety is the first priority, recall what personal protective equipment is required to be worn at all times at the facility, classify the safety signs throughout the workplace and understand what they signify, know how to execute the procedure to avoid and eliminate hazards related to fires, falls, and tools, interpret the industry-specific terminology related to personal protection and common hazards featured in this course. You can find my system implementation at the link shown here. Here are the principles I have applied throughout my system: multimedia, contiguity, modality, redundancy, coherence, personalization, segmenting, practice, program control, and feedback. Here are the results from the testing of my system. There were 12 participants and 9 identical questions on both the pre- and post-test. This table displays how many total questions each learner got correct on each test. Another finding was that 10 out of 12 learners already had previous workplace safety training experience. These two charts show the average percent correct on each test and a comparison of each learner's test scores. As you can see, taking an average of all scores, post-test scores were over 40% higher than pre-test scores. And 100% of learners scored higher on their post-test than their pre-test. This chart here shows mean scores of both tests with 95% confidence interval error bars added. Looking at the statistical significance and effect size, the p-value is 0, which is below the ideal result of less than 0.05, and the effect size is 3.208, which is well above the ideal result of greater than 0.5. When thinking about ideas for further research and development, in the short term there are a couple other things I could test. I would most likely get into more detail about the personal protective equipment and facility warning signs, as almost all learners got those questions correct on the pre-test. Since it appears they already have knowledge transfer from previous experience, I could dive deeper into these topics. The other way I could approach this would be to seek out learners with 0 background in workplace training. Since 10 out of 12 learners that took my course had previous experience, that could also explain why most got those questions correct. Another aspect I would change would be the table about which type of fire extinguisher to use on which type of fire. Many learners did get the question about this incorrect on the post-test. I feel that a possible cause of this was there being too much information on one page, and learners had to use more cognitive thought to study and focus on the table themselves. While creating it, I was unsure what the best way was to present this information. I felt adding audio to it could make it even more confusing. I think the ideal choice would have been to spread out the information to 3 separate pages, one for each type of fire, but at the time I was worried about the time constraints for the assignment. In the long term, if I was looking to improve fire transfer of learning and retention of knowledge, more aspects of the program would need to be developed. This was only intended to be the first of many introductory courses and should also be used alongside other methods such as interactive demos, monthly safety talks, and one-on-one training. Once implemented, I could then test and evaluate how each element of the program would affect long-term retention of knowledge, far transfer of knowledge, and also see how each would hopefully lower the amount of accidents and injuries as compared to before program implementation. Thank you for viewing my presentation.